Hi, Jeff Ray here, President CEO, South Bend Regional Chamber. We're continuing our candidate interviews today. Got a candidate for South Bend Community School Corporation, District 5, Stuart Greene. Welcome, Stuart. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here with you.
So Stuart's not only a candidate, but he's also the incumbent South Bend School Corporation member for District 5. And so, Stuart, we appreciate the great service that you've given the district here over the last couple of years. For those who are not familiar with who Stuart Greene is, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I was a professor at Notre Dame for over 20 years, taught in higher education for 38 years. I started the education minor at Notre Dame, and I thought it was really important that as part of that minor that students doing a senior seminar would ultimately be in the schools, mostly our public schools, sometimes other schools as well. And that's been kind of my touchstone, is always to be able to ground what I'm thinking in the experience itself. And I wanted students who were studying education to be in the schools. So over the years, I started a literacy program at Lincoln Elementary. I was behind a program called No Parent Left Behind. It was a parent engagement program. And then most recently, for about 9 years, a program in justice and the arts that was with the Neighborhood Resource Connection and Diana Hess. So we collaborated for quite a long time. So I've always felt that, being on the board would be the natural next step for me. I've been an advocate for kids and worked with children and families as well as teachers for such a long time that I thought I should use my commitments to equity and justice and fairness in schools and make sure that, as a board member, I could be a voice for all of those groups to make sure that everyone is thriving as best as they could.
Great. Stuart, I want to get in a second to your board experience, though, just maybe to help our viewers. District 5, give us a general feel for where South Bend Community School Corporation District 5 is located.
Well, if people know the schools, it's Darden Elementary, Swanson Elementary Traditional School, as well as Clay International Academy and Clay High School. So the north border actually for District 5, and District 5 fits in nicely with Clay Township, if people know that, but we go as far north as almost the State Line Road and down to where Edison Middle School is, near, Edison, and if people know the post office there on Edison and Eisenhower, that's about the southern border of District 5. And then another border would be, and I'm sorry to say this, that was where Tarkington was, but that's over by Hickory and Edison. And then it goes all the way down to 933 and Auten Road.
Great.
So I think I've walked, because I've walked it, I think it's about a 7 square mile district, large district.
Great, good. So Stuart, you're cruising along out at Notre Dame. You're teaching. You decide to make a run for board. You've been now on the board for a little bit. Share us a little bit about your experiences. Was it as you had expected?
There were some things I didn't expect. I think, in thinking about the role of a board member, I thought we would perhaps have more hands-on influence on curriculum and so on. And what I learned quickly is there's the superintendent, and then there's his cabinet, and that includes a chief academic officer, a chief financial officer, someone who's doing human resources, someone who's doing technology. And I think where I didn't fully understand, and others don't as well, is that we had more direct influence on curriculum. And in fact, it's the chief academic officer and his team that develops this. So where we do have a direct influence on the workings of the district are in things like the student rights and responsibilities, and what we expect from students, what we expect from parents, and most policies, whether it's Title IX or other, issues around discrimination. I mean, those are really important things to maintain equity, to make sure, that we're working with parents, we're working with kids, teachers, to ensure that kids are being treated fairly. And
Great. So Stuart, looking back on your time so far on the school board, anything, jump out as being something most proud of, excited about? Tell us a little bit about, is there something that's moved during your time there that you want to make sure that people know more about?
Yeah, I appreciate your asking that. As a board, we immediately, and when I joined the board, a little over almost 3 years and 10 months, we created a strategic plan, and there hadn't been a new strategic plan in place. It was looking at academics, financial stewardship, community partnerships, and the like. And that's been really important to strengthen those. But I think at the core of all of those parts of the strategic plan has been equity, and to make sure that schools are getting the kinds of resources they need to make sure that, I use the phrase, that make sure all kids are thriving. And it stands to reason that that would be the case. But over the years, some programs, Makerspace, for example, which is a really wonderful hands-on program that's involving kids in projects, have been in some schools and not others. So making sure that as we're looking at resources, that they're distributed, equitably. And I think that's true also of not just academics and finance, but community partnerships, making sure that kids are getting opportunities to attend programs like the Boys and Girls Club. We're partnering with them and making sure everyone has the opportunity to attend a program, like that. So I would place equity at the core of what I feel really good about.
Great. No, thank you, Stuart. So generally, a lot of challenges in public education, today, a lot of competition amongst it. What do you think the general state of public education is today?
Well, there's the abiding narrative, and it's persisting that public schools are broken, and I would say that that public schools, but particularly South Bend community schools, are pretty healthy in large part because of the consistency that we've had with the superintendent and with curriculum people who have gotten to work collaboratively with teachers as well as other administrators to make sure that kids are getting what they need. I think for a long time, if we weren't fulfilling our promise, it's probably because of the lack of consistency. We've had many superintendents over the years. Now we really have someone who understands curriculum, but also understands the need to work from the bottom up, that we can't simply change schools by being top down, that it has to be collaborative and there has to be, a lot of buy-in. I think that the tendency is to consider, standardized tests, and that's a reasonable metric. I think what people lose sight of is the fact that at least half our schools, 50%, have increased in their academic trajectory. So that, I think, is a reflection of the strength of our leadership. But I also think, as that the way funding is structured is such that, the public schools have struggled a bit. We need to keep our students here, and when in fact the state is offering vouchers to kids whose families may not even want to send them to public schools, they're going to other schools that will honor those vouchers, and as a result, we're losing quite a bit of money. So I think it's probably right to say that public schools are probably healthier than we think they are, but they also are struggling to maintain, its student population, and to maintain a level of funding that can support all of the programs that we have in place, while we're also dealing with things like inflation. I mean, the state has given us about a 4% increase. Inflation's higher than that. So if we're struggling at times, the reality is that at least financially, that's true. But I think academically, public schools and South Bend schools are healthier than anyone would suspect.
Great. So Stuart, you must enjoy some of this work. You're seeking another term here. Talk a little bit about some things that might be priorities for you. Maybe either unfinished work that you'd like to continue to build on, or something new that maybe is on your agenda as you look forward to another 4-year term.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. I would say, as a board member coming from an academic context and having written so much about literacy, I sometimes blur the line between board member and the folks who are in curriculum, but that's an investment I have. I want to make sure that we're getting kids to a level where they're reading and writing and using their skills to participate in our communities in ways that maybe we haven't imagined. I want to keep pushing on that and connecting what we're doing academically with the community. I want to make sure, again, that there's equity in the ways we're distributing resources. This includes making sure we have certified teachers in the buildings, and I think we're getting pretty close where things are pretty equitable. But I also think that the piece that's hidden and that I've been involved in with the board is in the area of governance. We have been able to try to make what we're doing more transparent, not only to the board itself. So we have administrators coming to the board to talk about issues around academics, about socio-emotional learning, around discipline. And that mechanism didn't exist before. I feel like we've gotten that going for about a year, but we need to continue that work on a committee that I chair called the Strategic and Operations Committee. And then finally, I think the area of financial stewardship is really important to me. But in the end, when I go door to door, I think that we have to work harder to make sure that kids feel safe in schools. And I want to be clear that what I mean by safe in schools, that they feel like they're heard, that they're seen, that they're developing a discipline of mind where they see themselves in right relationship to one another. So we need to be working on building community within our schools. I think that's when kids will feel safe. But the reality is that behind all this is that they also need to feel secure physically as well as psychologically.
Yep. Stuart, I want to wrap up our time together with two questions about with an elevator pitch. One, a complete stranger who doesn't know anything about South Bend schools. What's the elevator pitch you give them about why they ought to enroll their kid there?
We're giving kids opportunities that many kids never will have. And this was especially true of West Side Story, where 1,450 students from South Bend schools got to attend. There are schools like Clay High School that stand out for me in offering just state-of-the-art work in performance. And it was very significant. I would tell you that Alvin Ailey's dance company was there giving a master class. I think there are unique opportunities in South Bend schools, and it's where you should send your kids.
Great. And last, I'll give a personal elevator pitch there. Somebody's trying to make a choice in the ballot box of who to pick to represent them in District 5. Why should they pick Stuart Greene?
Well, I'm an advocate for the kids, for teachers, for families. I'm in schools all the time, and I bring a skill set as an administrator. People may not think of me as tied to public schools because I was an academic, but I'm so invested in the schools. I spend so much time with teachers and administrators to understand just what they need. I sit in with kids, in classes, and I don't just come to school and hang out. I go to classes, I interact with the teachers, I interact with the kids. So I come with a full commitment to making sure that all of our stakeholders thrive. And I think my commitment to the district is unparalleled.
Great. Stuart, thanks so much. He's Stuart Greene. He's a candidate for District 5, South Bend Community School Corporation Board of Trustees. He's also the current trustee. Stuart, thank you so much for the work you're doing on behalf of schools. Good luck in this final month, and thanks for taking some time with us today.
Thanks for this wonderful conversation. I appreciate it.